Are you struggling with legible, or do you just want to find out some tips and tricks to becoming a better player? Well, you're in luck because in this video, we're going to go through what we want to call this as the Legible Academy. And what that means is we're going to be walking through the different phases of the game and try to give you some pointers as to what it takes to be successful in each of these different areas. So the game is difficult, right? The game was built to be simple when you just pick it up and anybody can play it, but very difficult to master. Okay, so it's one of those games where we don't want it to be super easy for everybody and we wanted it to have some depth. So that means that there is a learning curve. If you want to get good at the game, you're going to have to spend some time practicing, playing, and trying things out. We are seeing people that have tried the game very briefly and they'll either quit or they'll give a negative review. But overall, the reviews are very good and people are enjoying the game, but people are very frustrated at times with the passing, with the kicking, and the game can be very challenging if you don't know what to do. The main thing that we're seeing is people are skipping the tutorial, and we strongly suggest that everybody plays the tutorial because the tutorial is meant to give you a very fundamental understanding of how the game works, how the passing mechanics function, the kicking, defense, breaking a block, all of your moves. I mean, it walks you through every last bit of it. So we don't want you to struggle any more so than you need to, because once you understand how the game is controlled and what to expect, then there's the next level of learning, which is mastering the team that you're playing with, the mechanics in the game, getting good at how to, combat the opponent, how to score touchdowns, complete passes, running the ball, defense, kicking, everything, all phases. So one of the things that we're going to start off with here is player ratings. Player ratings matter. Teams matter. The matchups that you're playing are significant. So if you're playing a really high-powered offense versus a very weak defense, you are going to be a lot more successful than if you had a very strong defense playing against you. So when you play the game, if you play the game for the first time and somebody, everybody's first impression of the game is very different depending on who you're playing. So make sure that when you play the game, you give it a few turns, give it about 5 to 10 games to really feel out the game and understand, what it takes to compete and why certain teams are easier or not. You're going to have a different outcome. And then plus there's some randomness. I mean, this game was built to not rubber band, to not come back on you like people have mentioned. And we're going to talk about that too. But the game is meant to be challenging, but also be somewhat realistic as best we could. And so we're going to talk about passing to start this whole entire thing, because we think passing is obviously one of the major things that you're going to do in the game. And it's also one of those things that are tripping people up. And we want to make sure that people understand how this works. Again, go watch the tutorial. If you haven't played the tutorial, not watched it, go play it because it's going to be worth your time. I strongly suggest that. All right, now, passing. Passing is very, very similar to the regular games that we're all used to. You have a lob pass, a standard pass, a bullet pass, and then you can have a wild pass if you overcharge. And the way that it works is very simple. You, just like in regular football games, you tap the button for a lob, you hold it down with a regular press for a standard pass, and you hold it down longer for a bullet pass. The thing about this game is that you have a pass meter, as you can see here in blue, and that pass meter will give you different control options so you can fine tune the passes. So when you lob the pass, you can't just press it really fast and have like a very small little bar, because you are going to get penalized for that. And the reason why we did that was because when you're under pressure and you're about to get sacked, you can easily just tap the button and get rid of the ball. So because we don't really have a wind up animation where it sits there and winds up, we wanted to give the impression that if you're going to panic and if you're under pressure and you're getting attacked by defenders, you can't just bail out. You're going to get a penalty for a quick little tap. Now, if you want to lob the ball in the air, you can do that without any penalty. Once you get past around 10% of the bar, and what the bar does is it goes from left to right, and it fills up, as you can see here, the blue meter. The blue meter starts at very low, and like I said, if you're 10% or lower, you're going to get an inaccurate pass, a high chance of it, anyways, and it's going to go very high in the air a lot of times. But if once you get past that 10%, you're jumping into the lob territory. And then after that lob territory, right around the 35% range to 65% range, somewhere in that range there, you're in the standard pass. And the more you build up the blue bar, the more power you're putting on the pass, the more velocity you're going to put on it, the stronger it's going to be thrown. So lower, higher pass, the higher the meter, the more it increases, the more of a bullet low pass. And that's it. It's very simple. You can even turn this bar off if you want to, and you probably wouldn't notice a difference. The only caveat to this is if you hold it down too long, it can go into the red, which you can see on the right here in the overcharge, and it can recoil back on you. And once it recoils and starts going back to the left in red, you start losing power, but you start very, very much so increasing the inaccuracy level. So once you try to go too far, you're going to be inaccurate. And the game here, the meta game here is you want to have a bullet pass if you have a clear lane, because if you throw it too low, you're going to get it swatted a lot of times from the line of scrimmage. So you kind of want to have a somewhat clear lane, but you want to throw it 100% of the blue bar. That's your goal. Just like golf games or pitching in baseball games, you want to get the high heat if you can. And the reason why a lot of times you want to do this is because if you have a window where you can throw it to a guy, you're going to want to throw it as fast as you can to, number one, cut through the wind. And by the way, wind does matter in this game. It does change the ball's trajectory and direction. And number two, you want to get it there as fast as possible so the defenders don't get to it. So bullet passes are very lucrative, and they're good to go after. Problem is, though, is sometimes you want to throw a lob pass. Sometimes you want to lead the guy. And that's kind of where you can have the different options there. So we're going to go ahead right now. We're going to do some passing just to show you what it takes. So if you hold down the right trigger, you're going to get the routes. Okay. You can audible with the Y button. I'm using an Xbox controller here. You can change the controller buttons to PlayStation, Nintendo, or use a keyboard. And so you can audible if you want to, or you can cancel out of it. You can also flip the play around if you want to flip it around. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to throw a pass to one of these guys and throw like a standard pass. That was a standard pass. It was thrown in the middle. Like I mentioned earlier, player ratings are a big deal. So if you have a QB that's very good, you're going to see that it is very easy to throw the ball. Okay. If you start playing this game and you just randomly pick a team and the quarterback is no good, this guy's a 97 skill. And I know we're going through a lot here, but this is going to be a long video. I'm going to put some timestamps underneath for you guys, but go through it, watch it a few times if you want to get better at the game and you want to learn how it works. The two ratings are the most important ratings here when it comes to throwing, and a lot of these mechanics here and modes here are going to be your skill, which each one of these players, you see break tackle, here you see throw accuracy. So that top number on the under the name is their skill. And every type of player position, that skill changes from what it really means, right? So here's break tackle, catching for receivers, blocking for blockers, tackling for defenders, and so on. So that skill is like your main skill for your position. A 97 is great, right? These guys are a little bit lower, but they're still pretty good at an 80. This team is a very good offensive team. The other skill or other rating you want to look at is the strength rating. In this case, it's how far they can throw the ball. Okay, so his strength means that he's going to be able to throw the ball 98 out of 100. Okay, so that's a good thing, right? The lower the strength for a QB, the lower they can power the ball. That's what that means. So we're going to go ahead here and do a lob pass. That was a little bit higher. See, it was a little bit, slower. And it wasn't really too high because the pass itself was a short range pass. But if you look at the guy on the left here, you can see that he's going to go on a out route here. So we're just going to tap it. And that's super high. That's actually a miss throw. That's way too high. And I really didn't throw it high enough. And the one thing you also have to remember is that on every pass that you throw, you do have some level of inaccuracy that can happen. There is a little bit of randomness depending on how good your player is. I'm going to try to throw a better lofted pass here. And that one looks better. He'll catch it if I didn't move him. And that's a pretty good pass. Now we're playing in just offense only. So let me switch this around a little bit so we get this guy out of here, because the running back is trying to block for us and he's kind of in our way. So if I want to throw a bullet pass, I'll try to throw it 100% now, but that was still a pretty good throw because this guy's a very, very good quarterback. So that's pretty much it. Now, if you want to throw, if you kind of get greedy and you want to try to go after a pass, and let's say you throw it in the red, well, it'll be inaccurate. His wasn't that inaccurate, right? Because he's pretty good, but it will be more often than not, no matter who you are. Let's move this guy into the starting position here and let's see if he can throw a inaccurate pass just to show off the way the meter works. So as long as you stay in the blue, basically, you're going to have pretty good passes. But as soon as you do that, you see he threw a duck, okay? And the lower the bar goes in the red, like I said earlier, the more inaccurate he's going to be, okay? So look at that. And that's why you have more precision in this game. The last thing I'm going to say is that if you are running with your QB, so if you're moving around while you're throwing the ball, you will be more inaccurate than if you were to see. Look at that. I mean, he threw it backwards on that one because the guy was coming back on that cut route. So he was turning around. He threw it like way low. But like if I'm moving while I'm, while I'm throwing, unless you're a fast QB, I think it's agility or speed. But if you have the speed and agility to handle that, you won't be penalized, or you won't be penalized much at all. But when you're moving versus standing still when you throw, that matters. So pay attention to that. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is, let me just do one more play here. And he caught it.
I made him dizzy.
Next thing I want to show you here is the kicking. Okay. So let's go ahead and pick a field goal and let's go to the help here, because this is going to be important for walking through it. So now kicking. So kicking is something that, hold on a second. Okay, there we go. I need to get my little pen out here because I have a pen that I want to use to help illustrate with this explanation here. All right, so let's get back to the guide and then we can walk through it. All right, so the way that kicking works, if you look on the left side here, you're gonna be able to see exactly what's happening. So over here, you can see the different arrows. So when you go and you first pick a kicking play, whether it be a punt, a field goal, or a kickoff, you're going to see this blue arrow here. Okay, and this blue arrow is basically your accuracy, like the direction you're going to be throwing the ball. One second. So this blue arrow right here that you see, is how you throw the ball. Okay. And then that's your direction. Sorry, I'm trying to do a couple things at the same time. Just 1 second. All right, so that's basically the direction that you're going to be kicking the ball. And it works differently depending on if you're doing a field goal or if you're doing a punt or a kickoff. When you're doing a field goal, when you stop that arrow, which we'll walk through that in a second, it is going to kick it directly straight from that arrow when you're doing a field goal. This orange one here, it goes straight forward. So no matter where the arrow is, it's going to go straight forward from that arrow. If you're doing a kickoff or a punt, it will go in the direction that is between the ball and, in this case, the ball's right here, and then over to the arrow. So this line right here, this green line that it's showing, is going to be the direction that it would go for a kick off or a punt. But for a field goal, it's actually going to go straight ahead. So it's going to go this way. Okay. So the other thing about the kicking is, just like the passing, it's a meter. The way that it works is you hike the ball with A for an Xbox controller. And as soon as you hike the ball, you hold it down. So when you push A to hike, you don't let it go. So what you do is you set up with the play, and I'm going to show you in a second, and then the kicking arrow is going to go left and right. As soon as you hold down A, it stops the arrow. And as you're holding down A, the power meter will start to power up. And what happens is, same thing with the passing. The blue bar is your power, it's your strength. So the longer you hold it, the farther it's going to go. The ideal, your goal here is to get it to the maximum. You're trying to hit 100%. If you go too far and it recoils back, you're going to have the inaccuracy issue, and you're also going to lose, as the blue bar comes down, you're going to start losing some strength. The different factors for both the throwing meter and the kicking meter are, if your quarterback or your kicker is a more highly skilled, is a higher skilled kicker, quarterback, player, whatever, the meter speed moves faster or slower depending on your skill. A lower skilled player is going to move a faster arrow. The arrow in this case the arrow for the kicking is going to go in a wider range, and it's going to go faster. The meter is going to go faster up and down. And for passing, the meter is going to go faster if you have a bad player. If you have a very good player, it's going to all change the opposite. So the arrow will be a narrower distance from left to right, and then the meter will be slower. Okay. You also have less of inaccuracy. So if you are inaccurate, your higher skilled players are going to be less inaccurate or more accurate than your lower skilled ones. So when you fall into the red or you get an inaccurate random based on your skill, it will be less often, less drastic if you have a better player. Okay. Now let's go ahead and see if we can make a field goal here, because one of the things we have to also take into account is the wind. Okay. Now in this case, all that I'm trying to do in this situation here is we're just trying to kick it this way or this way. So that's a bad arrow, but you get the point. And because the field goal is about the width of the hash marks here. And remember, as I said, when you're doing a field goal, it's not where the ball is, it's where the arrow is. So this guy could be all the way over here if that was even legal, and you're still going to kick it where the arrow is. So wherever this blue arrow stops, if it stops right here, then you're going to kick it straight up that way. If it stops here, you're going to kick it straight up this way. That's the way it works for a field goal. Okay. So if we go ahead and try to kick a field goal here, we're going to want to stop it. See, that was a bad shot. I hit 100%, which is very nice, but the field goal wasn't good. The wind is a major factor. Now it's in our face, so we really can't feel it as much. You can't see the left to right or the right to left, but see, that was somewhat inaccurate and it wasn't long enough. I mean, in order to kick a field goal this far away, it has to be almost perfect. Definitely has to have the distance, and it has to be obviously towards the middle. With a wind like this, you're going to have to be more accurate. And it's see the ball's going to the right because the wind is going a little bit to the right in our face. So wind in this game really matters, and I wanted it to be that way so that when you're playing in a windy game, you can't just kick and throw it at will. You're gonna have to see. That was a bad throw. This kicker cannot be that good. I'm gonna see what he is right now. I haven't been paying attention. But when people complain about the kicking, now I'm also kicking a 50-yard kick, right? This is not a short kick. This is about almost a 50-yarder. Yeah, this guy's not very good. He's an 80 skill and he's an 81 strength, so he's okay. Now that was a perfect kick. It's still going to the right, and it just made it. I mean, you literally have to kick a perfect kick with a guy like this when you're that far away and the wind is 11 mph in your face. I mean, it's pretty hard. Okay, so now if we go to a punt, I'm going to show you the difference between a punt and a kick, because now a punt is going to be different. It's going to be, as I mentioned earlier, it's going to move in a different direction. Okay, so if your kicking arrow is, let's just say it's right here. Okay, well, that's not really a good example. Let's just say it's like over here. Okay, and you go to kick it. Now what happens is he's probably going to kick it like right around here because he gets the hike and he runs up a few feet, so somewhere in this range. So then what'll happen is, instead of it going straight forward, it's not going to do that. What it will do is it will actually go this way, whatever that line is there. Let me just draw a better one for you. So it's going to go in this direction. Okay, so that's the difference between the kicking, and that's the same philosophy that I just went through there for a kickoff. It's just obviously the ball's static. So now if I kick it to the left here, you're going to see, and I did a little bit inaccurate, you're going to see that it's going to go towards that direction. And I'm going to also kick an inaccurate one. I probably should do it with a field goal as well, so you can see what it looks like with a field goal. And I'm sure if you're new to the game, you probably have already dealt with an inaccurate field goal or an inaccurate punt. But let's do an inaccurate field goal here just to see. And the thing with the field goal is, not only is it going to be inaccurate, but see, that wasn't that bad because I didn't kick it that poorly. The red wasn't too bad. So the more red you have, the worse it gets. Now the wind's behind us all of a sudden. I think the field might have flipped or something changed. But now that it's behind us, it's a little bit easier, or a lot easier, to kick it in. But see, that's going to be a total shank. And the reason why it went so short was because the blue meter came all the way back to the beginning. So that's the difference right there. And that's 100%. That's going to be an absolutely perfect kick right down the pipe. And that's what you want to do. And I did not mean to even do that. Okay, I'm trying to get in the red. Let's do one more. I want to get it in the red, like somewhere in the middle, if I can. That's a little bit better, but it's still a shank. Let's try it one more time. I want to give it a little bit more power just to see where it goes. But you kind of get the idea that you don't want to be in the red. See, that's about in the middle. And see, it doesn't go that crazy shank because it wasn't that bad. And this guy's not horrible, but it didn't go that far either. Now, if I go ahead and I try to do a punt, we're going to do the same kind of drill here, and you're going to be able to see that it doesn't go that far and it kind of shanks. All right. Now what I want to show you is, I guess I could show you real quick here before we go. Let's show you the ball carrier stuff. So that's kicking, that's passing. Another thing before we get to the ball carrier is the conversions. Okay. Conversions are something that's brand new. If you've never played or never seen this in another league, Legend Bowl does not do onside kicks. This was a designed mechanic in the game, feature in the game, because we felt like onside kicks were very random. You might as well just roll a dice. There wasn't a lot of control. We want to give you control. We want to give you feedback. We want to let you be the person that can determine the outcome. And an onside kick was the perfect solution to this problem, because what we're going to do is we're going to put the challenge into your hands. We're going to put you on the 35-yard line, on your 35-yard line, and it's a 4th and 15 situation. What happens is whatever happens in this play is basically what would happen on a real 4th and 15. If you score a touchdown, you get a touchdown. If they intercept the ball and run it back for a touchdown, well, they score a touchdown on you. If you get 10 yards, well, it's their ball. If you get a safety, they got a safety and you do a safety. So whatever you would normally do in a 4th down situation, this is the same exact rules. And if you get the first down, you keep going. And that's the onside conversion. The penalty and the risk is that if you don't get it, you're giving the other team a very, very solid field position. And if you get sacked or you don't gain any yards, they're on the 35-yard line. They're going to score. They're almost in the red zone. So that's what an onside kick is. A lot of people didn't realize we had it. They got confused. We have better notifications now, and we have the help system now, which you're going to see these when you load the game, these help guides. So that should be a lot clearer for people that are new to the game. And we definitely recommend that you spend some time, getting yourself familiar, because you might just not remember what that was, but it's a little bit a lot more intuitive now. This is just your offense. You have different types of plays. You guys can read that. It's not very difficult. Same thing here. The ratings we kind of went through. Skill is the main thing. It affects your passing, your kicking, your blocking effectiveness, your tackling, all that good stuff. Agility is another skill that we have in the game, and it affects a whole number of different moves and the way that your guy can run around the field, etc. Speed, same kind of thing. Strength, it just depends on if you're a kicker, if you're a receiver, if you are a tackler, a defensive person, player. So that's going to determine different things depending on who you are. If you're a blocker, makes you stronger. And we're going to go through all that too. Stamina is one thing I want to touch on real quick. In this game, when you get injured, you do have injuries. You do have different recovery times depending on the injury. And if you think about the game, you have stamina and you have fatigue. So fatigue is like your overall, that's like the highest your stamina can go. You start off at 100. Okay. And let me just kind of see if I can draw this up for you. I need to back out of here first. So I just want to show you guys. Show you what I mean here. And I know this is a very long video, but this video is like an education. So I know it's not going to be fun or, very interesting, but it is hopefully going to educate people. All right. So let's just say this is your fatigue bar. This is the bar that goes around your player. It's a circle around your player, or a half a circle. And then you have your stamina bar, which goes over it. Okay. Your stamina will deplete or decrease as you burn out. So every time you do a move or you tap A, another thing in this game that you can do, you tap A to sprint, you hold A to charge on the Xbox controller, and the charge gives you a power move, slows you down a little bit while you're running. The tapping A is going to give you a little bit more of a little pulse bump in speed. But every time you do the tapping of the A, or you do a move, like if you do a spin move or a juke or a stiff arm, hurdle, any of the Ballcarrier moves I'm going to show in a second, this stamina bar will jump down about 20%, 15%. Once you get to a low, like somewhere, I think it might be 0, you get gassed. And what that means is your guy slows down a lot. Now, the injury part of this is that this starts out at 100. Okay. So if you get injured, that decreases. Let's say you got a broken leg and now you lost 50 points. Well, now your bar here is actually going to be cut down. So when you start off your next game, your bar is going to be here. And so that means that the maximum that your stamina and your fatigue will ever go is that 50. And then every week, if you're playing a season, it goes up, I think, 5 points so that you start to recover. But the reason why I went through this was because there are no injuries where you're out of the game. You can play injured. Okay. And the reason why we did this, part of the reason why, was because we really don't have any kind of way of getting new players. There's no free agency right now, and there's no trading or anything. So you really can't you can't fill that spot in a sense. And we didn't just put a random person on there, which we could, but we're also trying to do bigger things down the road. So this is just a way to mitigate that. Once we have trades and all the other good stuff to refill your roster, this will probably change. But for now, this is the way that it works. So when you're injured, you lose stamina and you also lose skill. So when your rating goes down, so does your skill. So you're going to see your skill go from a 90 to a 40. So I don't know, I forget what the exact numbers are, but that's the penalty. So when you get injured, you are literally playing a lot worse depending on your injury. Now, it could be a twisted ankle and it could only be 5 points and no big deal. So keep that in mind when you guys are playing the game and you are seeing these things happen. So that's the way that those things work. All right. So now I want to show you real quick the ball carrier moves just to kind of give you an idea of what they look like. So you can do all sorts of moves. In training camp right now, there is no fatigue. So you don't, that yellow bar does not go down. Normally it'll come down. And whenever you do a move like this, it'll shoot down and you'll see red underneath it. So if you push B, you get a spin move. You push in the right stick, you get a hurdle. You can do that to jump over guys. You push in the Y, you do like a shoulder charge. Left bumper is the stiff arm left, and right bumper is stiff arm right. Even if you're going down, use the right arm so it's upside down. And then here's right RB, and then you can do right trigger or left trigger to juke. And you can dive with the X button. And then that's pretty much it as far as moves. Now, if you hold down the A, you can see here that my controller's vibrating and you're charged up. So what that does, that gives you a nice boost. And that'll give you a higher percentage chance of pulling off the move. Then you can also tap A like I'm doing here, and you can go a little faster. Okay. The other thing I don't think we went through, and I'll do it really quick here, is when you're a quarterback, you can also run when you're the quarterback. And all you have to do for that, there's two things I didn't show you when you're a quarterback. If you hold down the right trigger, you go into run mode. If you let it go, you go back into pass mode. So that's there. And then you also can do your moves this way as well as you're holding down the right trigger. Right now I'm holding it. I let it go here. I'm holding it again. And if you want to throw the ball away, you can do left trigger and he just throws it away. Okay. The other thing that you can do, and we don't have a player here that's bad enough. So let's just go back and pick one. Let's just do a full scrimmage because I want to show something else. I want to show a few moves pulling off against the defense, and then that'll be the end of the video. And I also just want to show one more thing, which is how the computer works, because I really want to address some of the feedback we've gotten. So yeah, let's see. So let's do a standard pass. Let's look at our depth chart. I want to bring somebody in. So this guys are bad. You're going to see it. So there's a setting in the game called QB Vision. Okay, and QB Vision, what that does, and there's an explanation in the main menu, is it will limit the amount of, when it's on, for any quarterbacks that are less than an 80 skill, which this guy is, he's a 77. As your receivers go off the screen, so you're going to see those yellow bars. Okay, and those bars, those yellow arrows, not bars, they limit the field. So when you're a bad quarterback, you cannot see the entire field. That's when QB Vision is on. If I turn that off, you can see the entire field, no matter what quarterback you are. Okay, see the wind's 8 miles an hour over his head. This guy's not the best quarterback. That just flew right over his head, and that was a really good pass. So I'm going to try to do that again. See if I can throw it to somebody. That was a nice throw, and that time it caught him. So that was probably the wind mixed with some, inaccurate pass. Now, if I get out of here and I go, or you know what, let's just do this. Let's just turn off the QB Vision. If I turn it off, now you're going to see that when the receivers go out, the camera will expand and you're going to see everything because now it's turned off. So that is a couple of different things with the passing. Let's try to pull off a move here with the running back so you can see how running back moves work. The stiff arm is probably a little bit too successful right now to pull off. And I'm going to try to do one. I couldn't get one there. The guy got me. But that's one of the things that people, I don't think people get when they play this game. The game's a lot deeper than people give it credit for. Now, that guy was just, man, he would not come close to me. I was trying to get him to come closer. I'm not doing a good job of pulling off moves, but you get the idea. I'm going to try to charge up a little bit here, see if I can get someone. Now, you have to remember, this team that I'm playing with, the Washington Eagles, they're a very, very good running team. So they have a great line. Okay, that's why you're seeing the line do so well. If I look at my line, they're all in the they're all like 90s. Look, 91 skill, 88 skill, 95 skill, 88, 80, 91. So they're all pretty solid. And the other team may not be. I'm going to run back here and see if I can. See, that was a stiff arm move. See, so anyway, so you have different moves you can do. You guys can try them out. We went through them earlier. You also have in the settings, you can actually see in the controls and layout, you can see the different buttons. And there are a lot of moves, a lot of buttons. There's a lot that you can do in this game. One of the things that we added in here that kind of just changed was the Y button allows you to bend down and pick up the ball, which is right here on defense and on offense. If you're a punt returner or a kick returner and the ball's on the floor and not bouncing, in the previous builds, you used to have to like press Y to grab it, but not anymore. As soon as you run over it, you pick it up, because I was finding that it was getting a little bit like the idea of being simulation sometimes doesn't always pan out. And that's one of the times. So the other thing I wanted to kind of show just really quick is the blocking mechanic. So if you're on defense and you're trying to get to the quarterback or break through a block, it's really simple. All you have to do is tap A. And going through the tutorial, it will teach you all of this that I'm teaching you now. So anybody who skips the tutorial, you're making a mistake. Go and try it out. It's a cute little story between a rookie and a coach, but I'm going to be this guy and I'm going to try to get through. And I got through. So you smash A, and depending on the matchup, if you're stronger and more skilled than the other guy, it'll be a little easier. And also what we did this update, you can move around your guy now before the snap. But you know, the quarterback is still going to try to be smart about it. Okay, so that's basically everything I can go through to help you guys out. A lot of it has to do with player ratings. So just keep that in mind. It's very important. And the last thing that I really want to go through before we end the video here, and I'm going to put some timestamps underneath so you guys can follow along and not have to go through every single bit of this if you don't need to. But this is the way that it works. Okay. You have the computer. Let me get a better color here. So you have the computer, which is the AI, and you have the human. Okay. And the human, they have obviously a game controller. That's not the best game controller, but you get the idea. Right? That's the game controller. And over here, what you have is you basically have a script. Right? And when people have complained that the game has rubber banding and the computer comes back on them, well, that is not true by any stretch. The way that the game works, the way that the AI or the game was coded was no matter whether you're a human or you're a computer, each side will push a button. And those buttons will translate into the state machines. So you have code that says if you push A, do this. If you push X, dive. If you're the ball carrier, you push B, spin. LB, all the things that we just went through. Okay? That's what this part does. And all it cares about is what you're pushing on the left stick to move or the D-pad, or what buttons you're pushing. Basically, what buttons on the controller or the keyboard you're pushing. Okay? So if you're pushing the button X, Okay. It's going to, in this case, let's just say it dives, right? Because you're the ball carrier. And what I want to make sure that people understand is that this code that's the AI will tell the computer, it will say, it will tell the player to push X. Now, there are things like turbo. Like obviously the computer can push the button a lot faster than a human could, right? They could push it every single step, 60 frames per second, so 60 times per second. But we have thresholds that will say you can only put, timers that will say depending on your skill, you can only push it so much. But at the end of the day, what happens is the computer will push a button. The player will push a button. The actual code that does the work doesn't really need to know who pushed the button. Doesn't care. All it cares about is the button got pushed. And in that case, when the button gets pushed, the move will happen. The player will do its thing. And that's why the game, that's where we want the game to be balanced. We want the game to feel like you're not being cheesed. You're not getting any cheese. And I just went through all of this and I just realized that you guys can't even see any of this. So I apologize. I don't want to do another video. I actually did a video earlier and it didn't come out right. So what I can probably do is switch this around so you guys can see what I was talking about. Let me do monitor left. Here we go. Okay, so you can see this now. I apologize. So what I was trying to say before, and I guess everything I did before was, you guys missed it now. But what I was going through was, this is the computer, this is the human, you have your controllers here, you have your AI script over here. And the button that's being pressed is this button here. So it doesn't really matter if you were the computer or you're the human. All the game cares about is this button here. And then this is the part that inputs the button, comes into here. And this is the part where I said, it does not care where the button's coming from, whether you're a computer or a human, it's coming from, doesn't matter. And then this is the state machine where it says to dive. So that's that part. Earlier, when I was showing the kicking, all I was showing, which again, I apologize. All I was showing you was that like this would be the arrow. And then this is kind of where you would kick straight ahead for a field goal. And it would kick, if this was the ball, it would kick in the direction, just like what we saw earlier with the settings. Same thing. You're going to basically see the, let me get rid of that. You're going to see the help guide here again. It's the same thing as the yellow, the orange here, and the green. So that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, I apologize for the text not showing my little notes there, because those are very important for me to kind of illustrate things. But you guys get the picture. If you have any questions, if you're struggling with the game, please join the Discord. Let's see if we can help you out. Try the tutorial. Make sure you guys check that out, because that's a very important part of the process. Spend some time with different teams, different rated players, and go out there and have some fun and get good at the game. That's the goal. We want you guys to practice, get better, enjoy the game, feel the accomplishment of becoming a better receiver, passer, defender. And the game is also getting better. Every day, every week, we are going to make this game even better than what it is now. So check us out, come by the Discord, and hopefully we can see you guys out there and enjoy the game. And this is the Legend Bowl Academy. We're probably going to do more videos as the game progresses. So stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that like button, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.